Let's have a look. Hey, there we go. YouTube is now live as well. Big pop. I do recommend sticking on Twitch, though. I will also go live on YouTube, but honestly, I mean, if people don't have a clear preference, I always recommend Twitch, because when I'm reaching out to sponsors, it's the data I'm able to compile. Wait, replays can be fast forward. Wait, can you like also move to a moment in it? Like, dude, no. Okay, yo, Faye, do you want me to blow your mind? Dota 2 lets you it has some way of deciding what is an action moment, and there's a button where if you keep clicking forward, it hops to the next action moment in the game. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I'm pretty sure if Age of Empires done that, half of it would just be wolves attacking villages, but I'd take it. All right, should we get ready for some games? I think we were looking at Core versus Crackety to kick us off. In fact, let me just drag my AoE 4 windows into a different window, because that's the weird way I like to do it, baby. And then we can get ready to rock. So, I think there's also this Chaos person I've been seeing quite a bit of. Another Finnish person, so that might be fun to watch Killjadi versus Chaos. I know Voldemar played some games yesterday, so we'll probably check in on a few of his. I know he had some games against Killjadi, but I think to begin with, it has to be the classic Core versus Kraken to kick off first day. I don't know if you guys realize this, but they had they had 7 games back to back. And that included Crackety switching accounts to presumably try to avoid going against Core again, or intentionally go against him. I'm just not sure which. What is up, Henero? My boy. Thank you for the resub, buddy.
Surprise.
Welcome back to the Swarm. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Henero, if you guys don't know, he's one of the modders in the community. I know he's been a little bit busy with, like, you know, real life work at the moment. But looking forward to seeing what your brain's going to cook up in the future. So, let me update Crackety versus Core in the title, and we'll get ready to go. I need to open their games. Which one do I want to cast? I think the one that looked like it might be interesting was, funnily enough, English versus Byzantines. That was when he was on his Moldedy here account. Dude, I just like, all I can see is Crackety was on the Moldedy here account, and then he saw he's getting Core and switched to the Crackety account. He's like, oh boy, time to farm. Poor Core. Oh, dear, I'm sorry, Core. So maybe we can watch like 2 of their games. We could probably do like the Gorge one and then the Cliffside one, I think is quite nice here. Which would be, so we have English versus Byzantines and then Delhi versus Chinese. Does it have any Byzantines? Yes! The very first game is a Byzantine. So that we can quickly get into business. All right, I'm sorry, that joke was terrible. I'm still kind of camel pun turned on mode, so I'm in a mood to just make a million jokes about every single civ. So it was on Gorge? It was on Gorge. Give us some camel puns. Oh, dude, no, don't. Like, if you want to see the camel puns, literally just go and check Faye's chat in the last, like, half an hour of it, and you'll see more than enough. I think it's something like, this is quite the hard hump to get over. What was that? That's a can do attitude. No, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop. I'm just gonna give you guys games. It's easier that way. It's easier on both of us, on all of us, I think. I did change something about my scene when we were casting Stormgate, didn't I? Yes, the main thing is I changed the game capture. So if I switch that, I think the rest is fine. What is that? Oh, I know what that is. That's Cal's competitive overlay. Oops. Let's hide that. Good God. That was beyond cursed. All right. Oh yeah, and the final one, I think the final camel pun we made is like, what was it? Unlike a camel, this sweaty boy won't be retaining much water after a game this long. I don't know. It was some crap like that. I'm done. I'm in. Let's just get to it. Wait. Is the chat not loading correctly? Oh, I see what's happened here. The chat got changed in size. 1 second. Let me change that quickly, and then we'll get underway. Because it should be, I think it's 7250 by 275. Wait, let me test that. Where does the message come in? Oh wait, did my own messages come in? I don't think so. Now what's it do, dude? Now the now the chat's completely wrong. Not you guys, but like the chat window. What? So it should be 260. There should be no overflow whatsoever. That's a bit weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly delete the chat and then reprint the chat. And now, when people say things, weird stuff, it appears. Look at that. You guys have been seen again. All right. Let's get ready to go. All right, it's time for the never-ending duel. One and all, welcome back to Age of Empires 4 action. It's time to get into the core versus Moldedy, a.k.a. Crackety. He's on his other account, but don't worry, folks. After this game, because he wanted to keep queuing into core, Crackety decided he was going to change to his other account, his main, so that we get core versus Crackety time and time again. I kid you not. This is one of 7 times in a row they queued into each other. I don't know who thought they were farming who in this one, but we kick off on Gorge with an English versus Byzantines matchup to see if Crackety is going to be the bee's knees, if he is a better English than the English themselves. Let's actually hit the fast forward. You know how I like to roll, guys. First few minutes, we do actually speed up, especially if there's no aggro plays. For example, we already know it's not going to be an aggro play because Byzantine players don't tower rush. Don't know why. And English players, oh, that's why they don't do it. They haven't pulled their villagers to aggro, so they are going to be playing a more sane game, at least, in the beginning of this. So scouting-wise, looks like actually a pretty good haul to kick this off for Crackety. He's going to get the lap of the map, and he's mirrored on the other side, but it looks like there's a decent haul here for both, so I expect about a 50-50 split. This is also an interesting matchup because both sides can more easily switch over into farms, and I don't know what happened with my cursor there. Apologies, that lagged really badly. But the farms are 50% cheap for the English, and for the Byzantines, it's not quite 50%, right? You get 15 resources off, so you get 20% discount. But the cool thing on top of that is that you get the olive oil. So I think these two civs, in terms of their farm transition potential, is quite close. And they'll probably be close in the terms of their unit type. It depends really what Crackety wants to do here. If we're looking at an aggressive opening from the Byzantines, typically you go for the Javelins, because that allows you to get onto more berry patches and escalate number. But if this is going to be a game where he just turtles hard and lets core come to him, expect to see the Western contract instead, because funnily enough, it's actually better to go Lombos versus Lombos if you're not going to come out, because those Lombos on the other side can't easily dive in and dictate where you fight. And yes, the map is still a little bit cursed. I think Gorge does have a tendency to still spawn sheep in an unfair fashion, but in fairness in this game, for the most, it looks like both players got more or less the 50-50 split. 2 extra sheep going the way of core. Already the level 1 system in. No level 2 yet, so no rush out to gather some extra stone here. Grand Winery goes up. Love this detail coming out from Crackety. He sets up the outpost on the left side to guarantee that the Lombos can't snipe in. And the cool thing is actually with all this surplus stone he's now getting from the buildings, he can also afford the arrow slits to guarantee there's no shenanigans here from the English. So tech up's complete. Cool. What's the opening play going to be? Because I think it's his move to make here, right? Like for Crackety, I'm expecting just a more contained start. Nothing too crazy here. Just chilling and vibing. And oh my god, guys, apologies. I just realized what happened with the minimap. Let's slow this down a sec while I... Wait, why has it done that? It shouldn't have done that. Oh my. It really shouldn't have done that. Nani? Alright, I'm going to pull down the UI for the moment. Did that literally do it the entire time? I think it was doing it the entire time. So I'm going to pull the overlay down for this one. We'll put it back up in the next game. I think I know what happened there. So that's very interesting. The way I've set it up, if I ever change the game capture to something else, it has a heart attack. Now we know. All right. So, didn't miss anything on the map. Basically just Archer and Archer spam coming out to open this one up. And it looks like we actually have got Horsemen added in. I love that detail. You don't really see Horsemen very often as a follow-up for the Byzantines right now, even though it makes a lot of sense in this comp. But for most players, if they don't go Hippodrome, they seem to just ignore Horseman throughout the early game. Mainly because Limitane just feels so much better, right? Like, even if you're up against Lombos, the fact that you reduce the Lombo damage by 50% makes Limitane still seem pretty sick in this matchup. But I actually love that he's gone for the Horseman, especially against a Civ that has very immobile units in the mid-map. You can kind of catch them off guard and easily overrun them. So, cool. Dude, I'm really distracted by that overlay not working. I'm annoyed. I'm ready to riot. All right, whatever. I'll leave it until after this game to figure it out. I know what I'm going to have to do. Basically, I'm going to have to recut the mini-map and put it in again. I just don't know why switching game capture type like causes that issue, but we roll. Okay, so let's think about like what happens as we trend upwards here. Lombos in small quantities quite nice, very effective, but as we move deeper in this game, I think this does kind of eke out for the Byzantines because of the efficiency, right? Like at this stage, we already have a 14% increased efficiency. We also have berries added on top of it, and we are going to get the javelins coming out. Makes a lot of sense. I think if this was a game where he wanted to go 2TC and camp, Lombos would have been better. But Crackney's already shown that he's not going to camp, right? He came out, he shoot Horseman, he let Core know this is a game where we're actually going to fight in the mid-map. We're not just going to sit back. So if you're going to do that, then Javelins 100% is always the right call here. And it makes this game quite difficult for Core because unless he's able to scale an absurd number of Lombos, he's going to start to fall behind, right? The beautiful thing is if Crackney is able to maintain mid-map aggression, it means he can move out into additional berry patches, which means this Javelin count is going to start to snowball a bit. So really important, I think, that Core fights in the next minute or two, especially if he can catch his opponent out on these berries that he's now moving on to. These berries where he doesn't have wheelbarrow. But there's no excuse anymore, Crackney. You didn't even need this mill. The Grand Winery is a mill now, sir. Although I guess that, for a lot of players, that's probably weird, isn't it, actually? Clicking on a Grand Winery and pressing X instead of W probably feels very odd. I actually want to yell curses at the dev team for that. I just thought about that. That is a very weird feeling. Core instead actually has backed up entirely. What is he? Is he... So here's the weird thing. He's scaling into Men-at-Arms, but he only has one farm cluster. This is kind of early to do this. I like that he's already prioritized the blacksmiths, though. On the other side of this, we're seeing something a bit more greedy out of Crackney. No blacksmiths yet, no pump of the techs. And we know this is a big window, right? Actually, if you catch your opponent, even with Javs, Lombos can actually beat them out if they have the steeled arrow, and there's no undermesh steeled arrow on the other side. So we'll see if he's able to thread the needle. The Men-at-Arms detail will make it very easy to reach that back line. It's really effective up against Horsemen, actually, just because, obviously, you don't care about them. You can run past them. You're very tanky. These archers will tickle. What is cool about this idea by Core is even if he can't scale it to a high degree, just having a few of these Men-at-Arms draws auto-attacks. So it means that Crackney really has to be on it when they're fighting to constantly switch over to the correct target. And what makes it more annoying is if you feel like the correct target isn't to go for the Men-at-Arms, these few Men-at-Arms could easily reach those Javs. All of a sudden, you're forced to deal with them. Otherwise, you lose your premium unit that's very difficult to scale here. I'm wondering if Crackney's even going to know it before they attack. I mean, Scout is moving out, but he really needs to sniff this out early. Because I think the worst thing that could happen here is you get caught in like a mid-map engagement rather. I think like the thing that would be quite nice as well is to set up some outposts around what you're gathering here and just accept that the English are going to get their moment to shine in the next 2 to 3 minutes. System level also only at level 2, which doesn't feel great here. He doesn't have enough stone to link in this third, but that's unfortunate because he could have been done with this and moved on by now. It's one of those games where, really, because of how close this is going to be, you really wish that you'd actually had the ability to just get a double grab of Assistant, aka Deer plus Berries. Funnily enough, he had that option. But apparently, whether he didn't spot it or just felt paranoid, he didn't want to go right side here. Oh my god, I actually can't believe how free that was as well. I think he was paranoid about it. He's got Horseman wrapping out at the worst possible time as the army moves in. And Crackney has to make his stand. 11 javelins to work with, but that number is not going to last for long. Lombo start to snipe out in the villages. That's going to be a pullback, but Spears and Men-at-Arms have actually reached the premium unit here. Lombo's in the meantime making it worthwhile as 4 gets struck down. Horsemen do arrive for the cleanup behind this, though. Cool. He's lost a lot for this. He needs to trade out, get rid of the javelins, get rid of the archers, because after that, there's going to be mass Horsemen coming his way. Cool, though. Not looking to let up. He has got Men-at-Arms trickling across the battlefield here. He did half the javelin count, right? Like, overall, I don't think this was a bad engagement for Core. Idling out the area, killing 4 villagers in the end. Does idle out more to the north side, but he needs to make sure he keeps his horseman count low. And credit to him, the men-at-arms spam has done exactly that. Only 3 horsemen left. Oh, no. Oh, this is bad. I mean, it looked like Crackety was going to get the cleanup. You have to remember those horsemen had to come a very long way. By the time they arrived, yeah, the spearmen had been killed, but they kind of traded themselves out, right, on the jabs, on the archers. And now you're in a kind of an awkward predicament, right? I think you have to commit pretty hard. Men-at-arms count was hit very hard. I'm trying not to say hard twice there. But the issue is now your opponent is eco ahead. You know he's going to be scaling more farm clusters. So I think at this point, there's 2 choices for Crackety. You either tech up or you look to go in. Because if you turn this into a farm scaling game, it's one you're never going to win. We already mentioned that the Byzantine farms give you a little bit extra, but they cost a lot more compared to the English. And of course, the English get quite a bit extra out of their own farms due to the mill influence. Cool. On the march again. Crackety. No. Dude. Okay, it happens once, we forgive you. It happens twice. I mean, he's at least going to be in a position to trade for eco, but unfortunately, I think the same thing that happened last time is about to happen again here. Core makes his move while Crackety has his army abroad. Outpost goes up, but not for long here. 5 men-at-arms, 4 spearmen, that'll be enough to torch this down. Lombo's pushing past it, looking for a target. Won't be able to find it, so instead they're going to camp for the 5 that are coming out here. Now the dive comes in. Crackety underneath the TC is going to take a few villagers with him. But he's about to lose 5, so he needs more out of this. Dive in and shift away. Core will migrate the farms. Meanwhile, the 5 villagers are left for dead. Crackety doesn't even try to pull them away here. And now Crackety's starting to run out of food, right? He's got the remaining sheep, but he needs to be out for deer or berry soon. This playing the horseman, I think we're starting to see why a lot of players don't go for it, is the moment you lose that horseman mass, especially against the English, there's no easy way to reboot. Lost the archers, or at least trading out a few more villagers, so Crackety keeping this even, but Core now looking to dive deeper. And arms and spearman count is more or less what it was, so this outpost can easily be taken down as well. Second wave is also coming in, so Core is going to be even stronger on this assault than the last outpost. Meanwhile, Crackety, I mean, he has, what, 2 javelins left? This is pretty over. There's no play left to be made here. Looks like it wasn't villagers inside the outpost at least, but it's the remaining army. And I think this is the stage where this tech up, can he get it? He might be able to. Actually, position matters a lot here, right? The question mark is going to be whether immediately getting a castle age is going to change anything about what's happening here. Food is running out quickly, folks. In fact, he's on the very last sheep here. He can't access the west side. This is where Core's alarm bell should be ringing, right? Like, once he sees that tech up, he should be rushing right side here. If he can just block the food, Crackety can get maybe 4 or 5 Varangian, but that's not really going to cut it up against mass Lombos and mass men-at-arms. Even if they are in a whole age behind. Army moving in now. Crackety about to get scattered on his tech up. And Core likely to just keep on diving from there. These men-at-arms just soak up so much fire, so tech up is going to be completed. But now the Lombos and men-at-arms move through to where the deer is. And Crackety, this was my worst fear for him. He does at least queue up 7 Varangian, so an opportunity to strike back quickly here. But Core needs to move past the TC. He needs to shut down this deer, and then he needs to choose, am I rebooming into men-at-arms, or am I going for an age up? And it looks like it is going to be more men-at-arms. Ay, this game. I'm struggling to see how 7 Varangian saves you, right? You need more than this. Sure, the first wave's going to be fine. I mean, I say that right now, you're outnumbered by the men-at-arms, so it's not going to be fine to begin with. It's Crackety, in a desperation play to try and get on the food, jumps the gun here, and is already trading poorly. The trades are only going to get worse. More men-at-arms arrive. This game is over. Crackety, unless he can sneak out into the food, he's trying for it now, but even then, this is 240 food. There's already a guard force on the deer and the boar at the backside. And if you can't access this right side, I don't know what you're meant to do here. Interesting that Core is backing up, though. Really? Huh. I mean, you've got 3 farm clusters. I think if you keep pumping men-at-arms, you get to a tech up anyway. But apparently, in his confidence, he says, no, this is fine. You can have this. I'm going to leave. I'm not really sure why. I mean, obviously we have God vision, so the argument as to why is that he thinks that Crackety has found some more food. He doesn't know how starved Crackety is right now. Means that actually Crackety is going to get to breathe another day, but what should be happening behind this now is Core should just be saving for a tech up. Like, honestly, if you're not going to go in full force and just end this, then you should be looking to get to the same age at least. So then your men-at-arms always win against Varangian. This is weird, man. Once again, I don't think Core knew just how over that game was if he parked there, right? Like, you saw Varangian coming out. Okay, wave 1 you can test. Wave 2, you're like, oh, he might have more resources than I realized. Looking back at this game, I imagine Core is probably nodding his head going, yep, no. That was like, that was it. That was the end. Instead, he'll reset, he'll come back. I'll look to make his way towards that food, and it looks like Crackety was getting ambitious here, moving out with the Varangian. Cool. Now setting up the Rams. Ambush from the high ground, but not a big one, folks. The amount of men-at-arms here and the Lombos can easily contest this. And they're going to look to do exactly that. Javelin's out of position, trying to wrap around the backside. They will at least spot out the Villager. The clash comes in, and these Varangians, they're just not healthy. There's not enough of them. Lombos are going to start to snipe down the remainder. Looks like there's going to be a jump under the Cataphract instead. Spearman is also on the way. Cool. No way. No way. Is he losing this? He's sitting on 1,000 gold. Oh my god. I can't believe this. This game looked over. This game looked like there was no way Crackety was going to get it together, but instead, that sneak out onto the food is his saving grace. The level 3 gathering rate buffs him up to a point that he's able to get one Cataphract out, and Core has no good solution. Oh my god. Now Core, who either should have teched up or all in, he chose this middle ground, right, between going back, resetting, and coming again. And now he's in trouble for it. Cataphract, before it goes down, is going to get a quick charge through. Will eventually be sniped down, but wave after wave coming now, and the Javelin's being added in with the Varangian. I'm going to call it again, and this time I think we're going to be 100% right. This game is over. I cannot believe this. What a turnaround by Crackety. On death's door there, he finds a way to just get through. And now Core will not be given the same sort of retrieval here. I just don't see a way, right? Like, food is still 500 behind what he needs. Jav count is high enough to just shut down the Lombos. And that is going to be a GG out. Core, just an inch away from victory there. But unfortunately, that step back cost him the game. And in the everlasting, never-ending back and forth of Core and Crackety, Crackety claims another. Okay, so let's quickly figure out what's causing that UI bug. I think I know what it is. We're just going to open a game up, any game really, just to quickly confirm it. So, sorry guys, let me sort this, because I know you guys like the big map, and I don't want to rob you. So what we'll do, we'll quickly choose a game that's just started, basically. So, or I don't care, we're just going to choose a game. So basically we're trying to fix the UI, because we noticed that the map wasn't showing correctly. Oh, you're doing the Shinobi plus Horseman? Yeah, it's pretty strong. It's actually my favorite strat against Malians. Okay, so here's the issue. You see what the map is doing there? Not meant to do that. So, the reason why it's being a douchebag let's find out. Oh, come on. All right, I'm going to have to make another thingy, aren't I? Yeah, 1 second, guys. Sorry about this. So, this was... Actually, what was this? It wasn't a window, it's a source clone. Okay, that is beyond cursed. All right, bear with me. All right, so what we need to do is we need to copy my filters. So let's do that quickly. Oh no, it already has it. What? Okay, that's even weirder then. Alright, so basically we have a copy. What we need to do is this. But what we're meant to do is slap it in here, which causes it to get drunk. Well, that's great. Oh god, now I'm grabbing stuff that doesn't even exist anymore. This is cursed. Sorry, guys. What? Okay, no. We're good. Give me a sec. Oh my dear god. I see what the problem was. It extended the thingy like a mile off. That is beyond cursed. So bear with me one sec, guys. While we get our mini-map back to what it's meant to be. Yay! I don't know why yay like I'm talking to my daughter, but yay! We done it! We freaking done it. Oh, your brother. You proud of me, daddy? Don't know why my dad's watching the stream. It's meant to be working. Freeloaders. One sec, actually. I just want to... Because I'm fussy like this. Okay. All right, look at that, guys. See, it's like there was never a problem. Shh, it's all good. Everything is working. Fixed it. All right. Now we can actually find a proper game. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so I'm going to have to remember that. Basically, because I have this scene for casting Stormgate, but it doesn't like that I'm using the AoE for game capture. So what I'll do instead is I'll create a Stormgate game capture and keep them separate. And that way, it shouldn't have a heart attack. I hope. Just doing it now, because otherwise I'm going to use it next time and ruin everything. All right, fantastic. So, come back to me for a sec. We'll find a game, and then we can get into a cast. Cool. So, I think what we can check out next. Let's have a look at our list of gamers. Oh, I said I was going to do another Crackety, didn't I? Another Crackety core. Ugh. Well, we're not doing the Zhu Ji game. Core's a filthy Zhu Ji picker now. We're going to do the Delhi Chinese game. Now, that might sound like I'm just a Crackety fanboy, because that's a really hard matchup for the Delhi. Sorry, Core. Alright, so let's get that game loaded up. We'll get ready to go. Oh, what do you guys think about us doing some Stormgate later? Downloading some casts. Wait, was there a tracker of what games were covered on the main broadcast yesterday? I'm kind of curious, actually. If someone knows somewhere where all the games that they cast is listed, I'd appreciate it, just so that I can basically download some games that weren't cast, and we can cast those through the week. StarCraft 1.5? Dude, if you haven't played Stormgate yet, highly recommend it. Very early in development, but very fun. Okay, I just realized that I haven't added enough powder. They're in a Discord channel. The recordings are cracked. I know that. I'm talking about knowing what games EGC covered, so that I'm not just covering games that already cast. That's what I'm saying. Guys, give me literally like 60 seconds. I need to go add some more powder to this mix, because apparently I forgot to. So it's very watered down. BRB in a sec. Music. Should be back in a minute. So that's interesting. You're disappointed of what Stormgate seems going to be. What do you mean? I think I'm fine with Stormgate. I don't know. Like some StarCraft people I know don't like how slow it is, but then remember how slow StarCraft was when it first came out. I think from what I'm seeing, and it's very early days, but my feeling is that what they've done with the pacing of Stormgate and what they're aiming to do with the balance of Stormgate and the design of the map, they seem to actually be approaching a very interesting middle point between a lot of different RTSs. They didn't even change the unit sounds from SC. What are you on about? Like, those aren't... Like, the meaty headbutt mashing I don't think was in StarCraft, not like that, right? Units don't amaze me. I like some of the units. I think the Lancer's a pretty cool design. I think the... Like, what else is there? So... Atlases can be pretty interesting. And they're quite different from siege tanks, even though they're similar, right? They first have small units that slap and big units that slap. Yeah, but like also remember, there's literally an entire third of a faction missing. So that's the thing you have to remember here. And this is by no means the final state. I would judge Stormgate more based on how game flow feels, input feels, those type of things right now, because I think that's a more accurate indication. That's the problem. Has nothing new? Sure. But once again, like, I'd rather they get a solid, good foundation than build upon it. Right? Like, for me, I'm more buying into basically, like, the limited stuff that we've seen and heard around, for example, modding, and how much easier that's going to be than literally any game before it. I also would say this, like, for those wondering, like, you know, if it's going to change and how much it's going to change. Obviously, they've already alluded to how they're going to change creep camps from how they currently function to be more impactful and encourage more gameplay. One thing that was really, really refreshing to hear actually from the devs when I interviewed Monk was the fact that they are looking to design something very different with team games. So 3v3s won't just be a copy and paste of basically what 1v1s are. They've said that they don't like the idea that like the optimal strategy is to take one player out straight away, which just makes the game unfun. So they're looking for a different approach, which, by the way, is a very big deal. For anyone who's like played enough RTSs, they'll tell you that actually there's not many RTSs that do a good job of doing team games. And bluntly, I think that is actually like what has been holding RTSs back from making a resurgence for several years now. Anyone who's been here regularly will have heard me say it time and time again. If RTSs want to go back to mainstream, they actually need to nail team games more than 1v1s. 1v1ing is overrated, 100%. I'm just going to say it. If you look at all the top games, the top grossing games, the games that have the most players, the games that have the biggest esports scenes, all those details, they're all team games. Right? Some people are going to argue Smash is up there, and sure, I think Smash is a very rare exception. But overall, you're looking at team-based games. How the resource ego structure and map layout was literally copied from SC2, one-to-one. I mean, I figure there's been a decent number of games that use two resources, but like the craft games most definitely do a lot of the time. It's at least like a little bit more depth than the games that use like one resource type, right? After AO4, Stormgate looks like checkers for crack cocaine addicts. I mean, you say that, but here's the thing. I would say that obviously AO4 is more fleshed out right now, but someone I've highlighted that I don't like with AO4 is I think its pacing is off at certain points in the game, namely the early and the late game, in a lot of ways. It's the reason why literally we just fast forward the early game. The fact that actually crap feels like it happens that matters right now in the early game of Stormgate is already like a step in the right direction. Because on top of the fact that you need to actually like target the team game environment to succeed big time now if you want to be a big RTS, in my opinion, I think the other thing is genuinely pacing and respecting people's time. Another common thing with all the biggest games, they don't take very long. I think MOBAs is the one exception, but MOBAs is its own very unique brand, which is very hard to replicate. If you look at how popular BRs became, a big part of it is because a game can be done in like 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Call of Duty still remains the biggest game. Why? Because I can plug it in, play for 10 minutes, and I would have done something I can plug out. Obviously, RTS is another issue there. And Age of Empires 4 definitely has this in droves, I think it's fair to say. It's not uncommon to find yourself 30 minutes plus still in the same game. That's actually a very common theme, actually, for a lot of players. Especially if you're not a pro-level player. If you're not a pro-level player, games rarely end before 20 minutes. Unless you've been smurfed. AO4 is great for rewarding going out on the map and being punished for turtling. Craven, what? Are we playing the same game? There are some things to get you on the map, but they're actually not as encouraging as you'd think. I'd say, like, if you want to talk about games that have done a good job of getting you out onto the map, there are definitely better examples than Age of Empires 4. Like, funnily enough, they actually didn't take the biggest element of the Sacred Site, which forced people to come out and Company Heroes, which was this score that ticked down when you didn't have Sacred Site control. You mean food resources? Yeah, but food is permanent in Age of Empires 4, so it's like, to a certain degree, no. Some maps do a good job. I think some of the defaults don't, though. Don't get me wrong, like, you do see a lot more people playing on the map. I think that's actually just, like, once again, I'd say for a start, that is compacted to the absolute top percentile. Why is fish eco so efficient then? Okay, so one, I'm gonna burst your bubble here. Most of the player base don't even engage with fish. Two, most maps don't actually have fish that powerful anymore. Most maps, what's the map rotation right now? I think 1, maybe 2 has fish in them. And, like, I'm pretty sure one of those doesn't even have deep water fish. Respecting people's time is a great way to justify dopamine loop abusing instead of making a fun game. I don't see how that applies with Stormgate, though. I get where you come from for certain games, where it's like, are you trying to suggest that Stormgate's going to let you buy your way to a victory with real cash? Because that's kind of the comparison you're making, right? It's like we've had clear examples of games where it's like, skip to win. I don't see how that would ever apply to Stormgate, though. Pace of AoE 4 is slow because the 5 villager, 6 villager start. Yes, but it's hard to overcome that because then if you increase the number, you sacrifice Dark Age, but at the same time, although I genuinely think that the game would be better if it was a 12 villager start, a lot of players don't like that because they become accustomed to a 6 villager start. Boulder Bay, Mongolian Heights. Thank you, Crackly. Yeah, so Boulder Bay we just don't talk about because I don't think there's a single pro that likes Boulder Bay. Of the main player base, I reckon there's maybe 5 people that like Boulder Bay. And some of them probably just like it for the shape. And then Mongolian Heights is shoreline fish. And while fishing is a big part, I've actually seen people beat shoreline fishers just by staying at home quite easily. Like, Civ specific, right? It's not a one-shoe-fits-all situation. 1 second, guys. I'm just we're gonna hop in this a sec. I mean, I don't mind like delaying getting into the game because I think we're having a good conversation here. And also, something else that genuinely I would say is incredibly refreshing, and I'm sure even I know Crackety, you don't like Stormgate and how it feels right now, but you've got to admit this is a refreshing thought. It's very nice to have a developer that's actually listening to the player base. It's very nice to actually have a developer that sounds like they're actually trying to make changes and is communicating those changes and is working quickly. That's nice. Do they? Yep. A lot of the things around hotkeys, for example, the introduction of that, I know it sounds simple, but like the rush to get that in is because players said they wanted to get it. They wanted it, right? And they're like, okay, let's get it in. And like legit, I was doing a Steam Next Fest part with Bearmorph. We had 3 different developers on that openly talked about things in their games. One of them even leaked a few details they probably shouldn't have, right? We don't hear stum with AoE time and time again, which is breaking my heart time and time again. I mean, that's absolutely fair, Crackety. And I always said, like, the reason I asked your opinion on this is, like, I wasn't in relation to, like, Stormgate, damn it. I was saying, for a comparison with what we have now in AoE 4, we know things move slow. Look how long it took us to get certain things patched. Look at how long it's still taking things to get patched. And all I'll say is, based on, and as someone who saw the game a few months ago, like, actually, it has come quite a long way in a few months, which is promising to me. 6 months to fix Warrior Scouts? Yeah, how many months is it going to take? Like, what are we still waiting on this? How many months do you think it's now going to take to fix the terrible siege situation? I'm banking on 4, at least. I'd be impressed if it's quicker. Like, I'm just going to be blunt. Like, there's messages I've sent in relation to certain things I want to be doing in the scene that, like, haven't been responded to now for 3 months. And by the way, I'm a creator and a caster who has, like, an elevated level of access to these people. That's bad. And it's not on the person who I'm talking to because I know they're overloaded, but it is bad. They even need more people with them, or they need a better, like, process. But, like, I give a lot of love to AoE 4, and don't take this as I'm going to Stormgate. I've said I'll still make Age of Empires and Stormgate content because I think they both have their merits. But let's not ignore the thing that is definitely wrong here with Age of Empires 4. The development process is very clunky. And it definitely isn't a game that's got everything right. Like, to me, I still want to see a good solution to late game. There's been talks of fixing late game with things like, for example, not having units queue up when you're popped for over a year now. And nothing's changed there. More friendly fire from mangonels. Dude, I would 100% be okay with some units having friendly fire to be more impactful. I 100% would love to see that. Because I've said, like, that you could actually design that in a way that it impacts the late game in a positive fashion. Oof. Sorry, just had to send a message quickly. Sorting some business things behind the scene for Age of Empires. Whoop, whoop. Ram spam at least breaks stalemates? Sure. But Rams were annoying. I agree, Rams were annoying. Like, you know, I've said before, like, it's kind of an issue with the pacing of fights. Realistically, there's always been an issue with the pacing of fights. Either you need to be pop-locked, and production can't begin until you lose your units, although then again, that will make a Bastards broken. Or you need units to just die quicker than they actually do. That's fundamentally been like the issue at the core of it, really. Sorry, I'm just open. I just realized I didn't have YouTube chat open. Let me do that because I think some people have been talking there. Hate to say this, but the balance team at AoE4 reminds me a little of David Kim. I didn't think David Kim was a good balance, but he left SE2 with Broodlord. Plus infested balance at the end. I can't speak too much to that because I didn't really play SE2 around them, but I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely a fair point to be made that something is severely broken with, like, the development process. And, you know, like I've said, I'm not saying that Stormgate is guaranteed going to deliver us great bundles of success and it's guaranteed. But I will say that I think a game that, like, game developer that's able to, and I want to really emphasize able to listen to, because, like, I don't think there aren't devs that listen to Age of Empires 4. I talked to a few of them in DMs and they feel my pain. But, like, the thing I always get back is NDA or X is blocking this or Y is blocking this. And, you know, it is very exhausting. It was a very big part of why I took that break last year from Age of Empires 4. So, you know, what I'm hoping, like, best case scenario in my eyes, is that what's happening now around Stormgate and the transparency of the devs is a case study example that the Microsoft devs, or Relic devs, you know, the World's Edge, whatever else, can take to the higher-ups and say, we need to be more transparent, and this is why. AoE4's balance is pretty good considering how diverse the civs are. Devs have shown they can balance the game. I'm not disputing that. I'm disputing the pacing. The pacing is usually the issue. And also, by the way, like another really big selling point for me with Stormgate specifically has been the supporting mechanisms. The supporting mechanisms is a very big deal. What I mean by that is when we talk to Tim Campbell, actually when we talk to mobile developers, they have the same thing. I think they call it the 4 Cs. They're basically highlighting that they are actively investing time and development and a focus on different areas of the game simultaneously. So it's not just about 1v1s. It's about campaign. It's about co-op. It's about team play. It's about modding. And that's really refreshing to hear because I've got 1 or 2 modders in the chat and they don't need to speak up if they don't want to. But if they do want to speak up, feel free to. This is your moment. Modding doesn't feel like it gets respected in Age of Empires 4. Some players who just wanted to practice and prep for a big tournament when the expansion came out had access to the private information. They had access to the servers early on. Do you know who didn't have access to those servers? The people who make mods that many people use, many of you use. You want to know why Woprox is gone? The guy who made the Outback Octagon mod, the guy who made advanced game settings. Because he's sick of not being respected, I think was the word he used. And I get where he's coming from. I know modders were promised some sort of level of access to State Tree well over a year ago. That hasn't had any progress. And once again, I don't want you to blame, like, guys, don't target this at the developers working day to day. It should actually be targeted at the higher ups that are either shackling them or have the wrong priorities. One thing that was really refreshing to see was the campaign for Salt and Ascend was really good. Big round of applause. But the starting campaigns are still abhorrent to this day and need a rework. But they're not going to get one. I don't think they'll ever get one. And you know what the sad part is? If you gave modders access to the tools, they'd probably actually fix it for you. That's been proven in other games, right? They'd actually probably go and remake the campaigns for Relic, upload them, and be good to go. But no. They're not giving that. They're not giving that level of access to do that. It's very limited what you can do without State Tree. Or, well, the thing I keep hearing and counter that is actually there's a lot of advanced things you can do. It's just it's not known. And then my counter argument is if it's not known, then have people show. Like, you know, one example I brought up in the talk with one of the Frost Giant devs, because he highlighted that, like, they've basically just got people, like, they just have people who just work on things in their spare time, right? Because they love it. And I said, you know, that reminds me a lot of what Google done, which helped Google succeed a lot. You know, things like all the extra stuff around Google Maps, all these type of things like that, right? They were all pet projects of developers because Google had this process where they said one of your days a week, I think it was, you would use on one of your side projects. And then the upside for Google is if they liked what they saw, then they would actually take that and make it a core product. But like, imagine if that happened somewhere in the development cycle. I mean, people are going to have a heart attack at the idea of that because they, like what Ray said about us not getting like enough updates regularly enough. But that's a bureaucracy issue. But imagine if like part of Microsoft's process was to say like, okay, you 20 devs, 1 day a week, go make mods. Go make mods for us. How incredible would that be? You're in a separate office today due to helping out at the help desk. Your colleagues ordered food without you? Dude. Yeah, no, you just go around with a fork, sticking it in each of their foods. That's literally what you do there. You won't be invited back, but you 100% do that. Yeah. And once again, like I said, this isn't to say that the Age of Empires 4 hasn't been getting some things right in the last few months. If they hadn't been doing some things right, I wouldn't be back. Genuinely. If they hadn't have actually started to like improve in some areas, I wouldn't have came back with Salt and Ascend. I would have stayed away. But at the same time, you know, the reason I'm highlighting this debate around Stormgate, Age of Empires 4, 1, both games can exist. 2, I actually think if someone likes both games, don't shame it. That's cool. If you don't like it, that's absolutely cool as well. But what I will say is it's not wrong to look at what another developer is doing and say, why can't we have that? And there might be valid arguments for some of them. Because I don't think there's valid arguments for all the issues. But unless we're willing to have that discussion, we limit the improvements we can see in our own ecosystem. All right. I think that covers it. If anyone else has anything, I should probably, I need to stop clipping these and uploading them, don't I? Just need to get an editor that just goes around and is like, I like that part. That would make a good controversial subject for people to flame KP about on YouTube. Probably wouldn't have worked here because I literally had this music playing in the background the whole time, which would have got me DMCA'd. But, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and clip it later. So, shall we get ready to go? Because I think people came for Crackety versus Core, not KP versus the entire RTS development. Woo. All right, after a long discussion about which RTS better, why better, how better, it's time to see which of these Cs is better. It's not Command & Conquer, it's C&C for Core and Crackety. They are clashing on Cliffside. Oh my god, that's C and C and C. And it's one of those old awkward matchups, actually. This is meant to be the Delhi's impossible matchup. We've got Delhi versus Chinese. Of course, Crackety would go to Chinese. So, when I say this is like the hardest matchup for the Delhi, I'm not even remotely exaggerating. I think that still remains the case to this day, that this is the matchup that if the Delhi get it, all of a sudden for once, their knees are shaking. And we should be seeing quite quickly why in this game, because one interesting thing about Cliffside is with the split of resources and locations, if you drop a Barbican down the center of the Chinese, you essentially handcuff the Delhi's opportunities quite a bit here. So let's see what the opening is going to be. I'm expecting to go towards that way. Let's switch over to the villager production as well to see how many people in each resource. Other side of this, let's think about what Core can do. Because like one of the big issues is if you see that Sacred Site get blocked, you can't go for a free Sacred Site cap. You can't turn the pressure up. You can still, however, take the outskirts Sacred Sites. And on a map like this, although there can be some reactions, I'd say, to the south Sacred Site, the northern ones you feel usually easily under the control of the Delhi. And typically, because the Chinese don't go horsemen, they go spearmen, they go maybe archers max, they don't have the mobility to keep dancing around you. Another thing that's kind of interesting on this map, Stone is facing forward. This would usually be an issue, same with the gold, but once again, because that Barbican drop that should be coming in probably here, if not here, Core is going to have a hard day ahead of it. So let's actually get the speed up and see what's going to happen here, because I think if Crackety doesn't go Barbican first, it can go bad. And he understands this. Straight away, heads out with the two villages. So Barbican drop, perfectly placed right on top of the Sacred Site. This detail here is exactly why this is the hardest matchup for the Delhi. Because now you don't have this nice sweep where you go Sacred Site to Sacred Site to Sacred Site. On top of that, you don't have a short route to the opponent's base. This is kind of worse than what it is on Dry Arabia, right? Where Dry Arabia, you at least kind of rotate around a bit, but your options are already restricted by all of these cliff sides. So now, Core's going to have to take a different approach. He's already gone for the TOV. That was to be expected here. I'm sure he's expecting the Barbican drop as well. It's just a logical choice. Funnily enough, Crackety could have actually dropped the Barbican in his opponent's base if he wanted, but because the stone was forward spawning and not the gold, there wasn't any value in that play. And now, after tech ups, follow-up is going to be Crackety actually setting up some small walls here. Okay, so let's slow this down. This is a really cool detail. I love this. And I just noticed for some reason our mini-map has gone small again. I see why. Apologies, folks. Let me fix that. Wait, what? Where's it gone? Oh, for God's sake. Well, we had a mini-map fixed, and now we've lost it again. Okay, one sec. I'm going to quickly pause this game and sort this. Why have you disappeared? There you are. There you are, you beautiful, beautiful bugger. Why have you disappeared inside the thingy, though? What? Okay, one sec, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We fixed this. We literally fixed this. And it busted again. So just give me a second. And I'll have this fixed ASAP. I don't know why it's done that again. I'm not going to rob you guys of the amazing minimap, because I know you do enjoy it. So, let me quickly just update this. Sorry about this, guys. I don't know why it's done that again. It's Monday. It's one of those days, right? Bloody thing. So. think the rest of those settings were correct. So now, drop the minimap in. We should be able to sort this out. Yes, so let's delete that minimap. And then I need to crop it, don't I? Oh, wait. Did I need to rotate? I'm trying to remember now. Sorry, guys. Bloody thing. So I think I needed to take that out first, and I needed to rotate by 40 degrees. All right. Wait, what? That's not... Oh, I rotate by 40 degrees because I'm an idiot. That's why. Sorry, guys. Transform. It's 45 degrees. There we go. I do math real good. Not as well as meth, but we try. Okay. Second time and hopefully the last time doing this. If it does it again, I'll just switch it off for the day and sort it after stream. But I know this is going to screw the viewing experience otherwise. So I'd rather just get it sorted now. Okay, fantastic. We have a working minimap. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Is that beautiful? If I can select it, it would be beautiful. Very beautiful map. Very big pog. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. We can get back to the game now. Okay, map fix. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's much better than whatever was happening with that undercompensating map. So let's talk about this small wall and why this is good. I really, really like this small map. This small wall. The reason I enjoy this small wall on Cliffside is it gives you a lot of momentum to push back and forth beyond the wall, which is effective against cav-based civs, right? If you're up against Ghazi Raiders, which is guaranteed to happen here, and you go for Chuga Nu, now when you step out to poke them, to hit the eco, if they rush towards you, you go for a gate here, all of a sudden they have to run all the way around the wood line, or they have to try and go through the gate while getting shredded like paper by the Chuga Nu. This is a really cool detail. I think I've highlighted this with one or two players already, like dominance with things like Lombos or Chuga Nu on basically any matchup where you have ranged advantage, right? On a map like Cliffside, can basically be achieved by something as simple as a tiny wall. And a lot of the generations do offer up these opportunities. Sometimes it's a bit on the flank, but if you see a forward spawning wood line like this, and you're playing as a civ that is going to have range advantage, just think jackpot straight away. So try to counter that. We are going to get the Ghazi starting to come out. No archers yet, but they will slowly come out just behind it. And it looks like we haven't got double production pump either. So cool, just optimizing around getting a bit more food and wood in the opening. Other side of this, we've already got the Imp Academy, though, and Chuga Nu are ready to rock and roll. Yeah, this is going to be a bit chalked. The problem I'm seeing here is how limited your options are, because funnily enough, is like, even if he doesn't wall off this piece, you might be wondering, why hasn't Crackety created the V? Because he doesn't need the V for victory here. If he leaves this way open, even if Core dives, he's diving towards a Barbican. So instead, Core needs to find targets, eco targets, to extract here. The annoyance of which is once there is an Input Academy up, the amount of gold generated through taxes is enough to afford mass Chuga Nuing. You don't need the gold here anymore. You only need it at the start of the game to get into the blacksmiths and get into your Steeled Arrow. Look at this. Follow up into stables. That's pretty creative. We don't see too many players going mass stables units, right? But I've noticed more and more players, at least Chinese and Juji, when they play on this map, they tend to, weirdly enough, go towards cav a bit more. I think it's because the attack and defend momentum is a bit more easy to balance, right? You don't have to cross a very big map to attack your opponent's base, which means you don't have to leave their base and get to yours too early, right? It allows you to be a bit more flexible. If you compare it to Dry Arabia, if I see Horseman, your Horseman in my base, I'm going to feel very confident about all the time I've got to now raid you. Whereas on Cliffside, if this Horseman show up on the eco on the Woodliner core, it doesn't take Crackety very long to get them back home compared to how long it takes you to wrap around that Barbican. Sacred Site's now being locked in. Unfortunately, not for free. Crackety, lovely detail about these Horsemen. They get a freebie up north side, so Scholar is going to be blocked out. Is going to be chased back. In fact, he might be killed. Double Horseman should be a killer. One Ghazi's not going to change that, so well played there. These opening Scholars are incredibly valuable for core. It's about making sure that you're able to afford additional Scholars. It's also about making sure you get the best value trades at the beginning of the game. But now that's been delayed for him. Ram, in the meantime, has been set up. It looks like Siege Engineering was a priority, so that's going to break through the wall. This Barbican, however, is going to be a much more difficult target. In fact, I don't know if I really approve of the Ram this early, considering that now that Crackety has Horsemen, he can just run in, poke down that Ram, and if you try to dive and punish him, Barbican is going to blitz you, right? Like, that 25 damage hand cannoneer is going to do a lot more work than just free archers versus Horsemen. Crackety might actually catch someone this wide arc. This is one of those unfortunate details where having both your food sources on one location doesn't feel good, because it means when Crackety comes in looking for your extension, he knows naturally where you're going to be, right? You aren't going to move in the center of the map right now. There isn't anything the south side that close by you want to get, right? You can't do ball. That's not halal. So instead, Crackety immediately knows where to go. Horseman in. No textiles for Core either, so that's going to be one villager down, maybe a second. And remember, folks, Core is up against Song Dynasty, so just losing 1 or 2 villagers here sets him a mile back already. 40 to 31 eco. In fact, make it 30. Dude, sick raid. Gets away as well. Ghazi trying to chase. They might get 1 stab in, but it's not high enough base damage here, so great maneuverings. And behind this Crackety, it looks like he's already macroing up towards a potential Castlage play, which I quite like here, right? Your opponent's taking quite a long time to get through, has gone for the double ram. That's a heavy investment. 400 wood that should be going into an offensive has to be placed into the ram investment just to make this happen. Dive past the Barbican. Bendown coming in. Crackety now prepping the Chiganu though, and here we go. Ready to clash out here. Horseman body blocking any charge through for the Ghazi. Start step does begin from Crackety. And Horseman will soak up the main line of Ghazi here. This works quite nicely. It delays the arrival on the Chiganu, who have now reached a choke point. Crackety is going to start to lose them a bit. Needs more supervision going. Extra archery ranges have now been added in. He's moving towards the primary TC, and this dive is going to start to cost Core dearly. Behind this, he has actually left the ram behind with a few spearmen, so no play there by the remaining Horsemen. They are going to get taken out. Villagers now being pulled to repair the Barbican. The dive into the main base is starting to fall apart, though. Ghazi count is getting low. TC is being garrisoned, which is limiting his ability to shut this down further. And so far, although some eco has been killed, Crackety is still 7 ahead. Barbican soon to go down, though, and Core starting to gain momentum here. I mean, this is incredible what he's doing here, right? Like, this matchup, we already highlighted. This is meant to be essentially a default win for the Chinese. But Crackety was floating a lot of resources at a bad point here, and this flood through from Core, although it costs him a lot of units, it hits just hard enough. And this is worrisome now. He just saw him run through the wood line, right? Like, so now he knows all the eco is out of the base. Crackety in quite the sticky predicament here. He tried to clash Horseman on Ghazi and learned the hard way why it doesn't work. Village now going down, and Crackety may not be long for this game. Barbican's already dead. That's the one defense that was meant to keep him in control of this game. And now Core in a prime position here. If he just rotates the base, there's no food for Crackety, right? Like, look at the front side. The berries are too exposed. Backside, the deer is predictable. Border the north side is way too far away. And you're playing against Ghazi, so Crackety doesn't have an easy time ahead of him. Oh, man. You know, I doubted it for a sec there. That dive into the base by Core, it looked like it was going to fall apart, but credit to him for understanding that the power of these Ghazi, the extra health, the undermesh, enough to dive for long enough there. And I think Crackety was about 5 or 6 Chiganus short of what he'd need to start holding these choke points. He's going to try to hold on for temporary time here. But the IO's going down with the fact that his main base can't really operate. And the fact that behind this, the Delhi should be locking in the sacred sites. I'm starting to wonder, where does Crackety recover this game? Ram's also dealing with production. I mean, this is... I think this is over. bit of a fizzle out in the end, right? Like, I mean, I was hoping we were maybe going to see a second win, the second opportunity at life here from Crackety, but although he's got some food to work with, his base is pretty inoperable right now. Behind this, we're talking about a Delhi player that should be locking in 3 Sacred Sites in the coming minute. I say that, though. Core does need to spend the gold for that to be the case. So far, he's just settling on 1, but remember, this gold trickle now kicking in. Just having 1 Sacred Site is enough to start propelling those Scholar numbers minute after minute. Behind this, yes, Core hasn't killed Crackety's eco entirely. Crackety does actually have an even number here, right? Song is totally balanced. But the issue is this deer's about to run out. And then where do you go? Berries, which are worse, or do you go Boar to the north, which is further out? Quite the tricky predicament either way. I love that Core's adding in spears. He's that paranoid that he's up against a horseman spam, but the reality is that Crackety can't really afford horsemen here. I actually think it would kill his entire game. So, not really a need to worry about that, but at this stage, Core in a very confident position can kind of tick every box without worrying about leaving himself weak for it. Alright, how does Crackety actually recover this? Like, if we try to like take a serious approach that's reasonable here. I mean, step 1, I think you would have needed spears, but the question is it too late with this many archers? He's just going for the unlimited Chuginu. Like, he's just trying to cheese his way through, but you know, this is China. This is not Juji. Your timing on escalating this number isn't as aggressive, and also, in fairness, we're probably past the point where you had that window of opportunity. Credit to him for trying to make a last stand, right? Like, realistically, he does have China. He is going to inflate his eco further. Also, it is Core, and Crackety doesn't want to lose to Core. But this is a hard fight to win. Chuginu are at least going to get a freebie on the Ram. They just love how they nerf Rams and it buffed Chuginu. Well, it didn't buff them enough. Archers moving in. Spearmen are just soaking all the damage. The Archers can trade out here. Ghazi are arriving on a delay, but once again, we dive into the main base. Archer count just keeps swelling up as well, right? The Chuge numbers are just falling, but the Archer count always going upwards, and IO is now being sniped. 150 resource unit just taken out so casually here. Archers are actually going after them all. Core. He's like a modern Robin Hood here. Says death to taxes. It does cost him a lot of troops, but to snipe those IOs, well worthwhile, right? Like, not only is it a cost to reboom here, 105 resources when they come out from the Imperial Academy, of course that did get buffed. It's the fact that now the amount of wood you're returning, the amount of food, gold, it's all lower, right? So it's not just the cost of replacing, it's what you lost in the interim as well. While that's happening, third Sacred Site should be locked in soon. I imagine, like, we have 3 Scholars now. This is the stage where Core can send one down, but instead, he might not want to sacrifice a single unit. Castle Age is on the way, and this is the point where the game falls apart. You're going for granaries while your opponent is going for Castle Age. There's not a worse feeling in the world right now that you could encounter. Okay, there is. There's a wolf ruining it. Ghazi are wrapped around the back, so unfortunately, it looks like he's going to snoop this out. Compounder Defender is now on the way. And I love the fact that Core's like immediately going stone after. He's like, yep. No. This is fine. If you want to set up your farms, I'm going to set up keeps on every Sacred Site anyway and eventually be better than Song TC. Ghazi are going to ride in the wrong location here. Unfortunately, the wall isn't up yet. More unfortunately, Core doesn't realize it, so it looks like he will not be able to sneak in on the farms. This horseman is going to arrive out to deal with the Sacred Site, but he's not going to know about the tech up. So Crackety has literally one choice the moment this tech up completes, and that's to select the entire army and head into the enemy base. It's not a great option, but it's kind of your only one here. And oh my god, the UI disappeared again. Are you kidding me? Apologies about this, folks. This has been a weird day. I don't know what keeps causing that. Chuginu marching forward, tech up complete, and this is the moment where you have to break the eco. You have to break the base. Anything less, and it's pretty much a GG. Men-at-Arms count is already up to 7, though, and that kind of feels like a GG. Oh, man. Core just has so much food to work with on the map still, right? He's done exhausting the deer. He's under the berries right now. He can surge up to 20, 25 men at arms. He can even look to move out to Crackety's side of the map for the berries as well. Horseman's trying to be a little bit annoying, but looks like he will be pinched. So now it's also going to be the Ghazi coming this way. Crackety looking for a breach point. Villagers are going to get seen, but Core quick with the fingers to pull back there, and Textiles will stop him losing any. Now the march north. Outpost is being rushed up here. Villagers will be able to migrate inside, and Crackety, this might not be the time to stand and fight. Rogue doesn't have a choice though, right? Best option he has is to try and seize this down. Unfortunately, I'm worried about what's happening elsewhere. Men-at-Arms are starting to flood out. Villagers trying to rush up a wall to buy more time, but folks, the Men-at-Arms count is at 17 right now. It's getting scary. Even with just a level 1 ranged armor, that's good enough against Chuganu. Chuganu are going to snipe down a few villagers here. Now, ranged mass has been caught. Men-at-Arms are just going to chase him back, and behind this, a tech-up is on the way. But remember, on a map like Cliffside, it doesn't take long to reach the enemy base. Tech complete. Chuganu numbers are being shrunk down a bit. Men-at-Arms counts going up. And crossbows are being prepped, but Crackety, I feel like he needs 2 minutes to get it together. Like, what have we got? We've got 1 archery range, +1 here, right? Then the supervision on one of them. So it's a decent inflation rate, but it's not crazy. In fact, right now, if I'm not mistaken, that is the Chuganu upgrade coming through. You only have 23 of them left. Oh, boy. All right, 1's if Crackety can turn this around. 2's if Core is just an OP deli picker. I think Core might just be an OP deli picker. The Ghazi, they come in with a backstab. That's going to stop the retreat. Archers moving in just to snipe off more Imperial officials. Army is all but dead. Numbers don't even want to come through anymore because they already know how this one ends. Crackety has no standing army really to threaten this. Men-at-Arms count is at 22. Army mass is 3x in favor of Delhi. We won't even talk about the army value here. This game is over. Core strikes back, and he does it in quite the flexy way here. Delhi beating Chinese. It's not what's meant to happen on paper. But this is why we play the games out. This is why people don't just GG out if they see that their Civ is counted in the lobby. Sometimes it comes down to execution, and Core's was on point here. It feels like he actually caught Crackety twice in an awkward phase, right? Like, you know, he catches the Chuganu when the tech up's happening, so Crackety kind of has to sacrifice them. Before that, earlier in the game, that ram in timing with the Barbican being taken down when it was, you could see that Crackety wasn't ready. Going into Horseman instead of Spears there, I think made it a bit harder to defend. It made it a lot easier to aggro. That was the trade-off, right? Is that Crackety killed a few villagers, felt good about it, but Core always had a clear, clean target, and the keep in the base will convince him there's nothing left here for him. GG, Core beats the unbeatable. For your information, since Ghazi Raiders, China doesn't beat Delhi. Do they not beat them still? I feel like because the central sacred site detail, they're still very strong, no? It's 50-50. Okay. Oh, wait, are you going based on stats in pub games? I'm talking in pro games. I know we don't see it much at the moment, but I feel like China is still a decent answer to it, no? Because you know as well as I do that pub games is very disingenuous, even at conk level, for the Delhi performance in general. Even in 20s. Okay. Thank you for the insight, Crackety. I appreciate that, buddy. China wins on pro level, nothing changed. Oh, I love how cool straight in there, dude. So, like, I figured it didn't change much because of the Barbican on the central sacred site, which really screws Delhi's rotation, right? I'm trying to remember, back when we used to see China as the answer, you didn't go Horseman then, right? Or am I misremembering that? It has been a while since we've seen China-Delhi often clashing in tournaments, I feel like, but I don't think you used to go... I don't think you used to go for Horseman even before Ghazi, right? In fact, I think in most situations, wasn't the Barbican play usually onto the central sacred site? Or, like, the alternative was you put it on the sacred site with the boar. I remember we saw some really creative strategies around, like, boring, doing a Barbican play on a sacred site, and then you just, like, fast castle. That might have just been Mister's strategies looming in my brain. So let's see, Delhi versus China. Yeah, see, this is the thing. Like this is what I mean. Like, Delhi just don't get played at high level. In fact, like, from the December 6th patch, 529 games played. There are some lower ones here. Like, actually, China's not being played much either. Obviously, the more accurate one is to go back to, like, what, September 26th would be when we have the most games between Delhi and China. And Delhi is a 38.5% win rate back then. Obviously, that's a while ago. Some things different. But, like, once again, like, even when you look at the data back then, of all the civs in the game, Delhi was the least played alongside HRE. It's one of those weird ones. I think I talked about it before. It's like a lot of the people who play Delhi on the ladder aren't necessarily like your top 16, because the top 16 players just seem to feel like they have what they need out of Delhi, if that makes sense, right? So they spend more time focusing on small optimizations around X, Y, or Z civ, because they've already kind of locked in what they want to do for the first 15 or 20 minutes. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a sec. Am I seeing this right? Guys. Do you know who's online? Do you guys know who's... Do you know who is online? Do you want to know who's online? Don's online! Yo! Well, you know we're checking that out. I came for some Don 10. That's what I'm all about. Alright. Let's go. Alright, UI's working correctly this time. We're not crapping the bed, right? I think we're safe. God, I'm sorry about that, guys. That's so weird that they've done that today, but we're good. I don't know about you, but it's time for some Don 10. Welcome back to 4 Action, folks. We have got Don Artie back on the ladder after what feels like an eternity of him not playing. I'm glad we get to highlight him the moment he's back at it, with the Mongols of all civs on Cliffside up against a fellow content creator. His tips, playing as the Delhi. I hope that was random and you're not one of those dirty people. So Cliffside Delhi versus Mongols. That's an interesting thought, especially with the way the resources have spawned for tips here. Fort spawning stone, fort spawning gold. The stone doesn't matter, but the gold does. The deer can as well, as could the berries on the rotation. But it all comes down to timing, and I'm curious, especially already with being Don, is something weird going to happen here? Because I think this is a difficult matchup in general, but Don is usually quite creative with his openings. It seems, for now at least, it's going to be pretty much what you'd expect. Racks on the way. And this is actually like a decent map for the Mongols to outpost rush on because of how close you are to your opponent, right? It doesn't take you very long to arrive with this initial spearman and this outpost, but the outpost is critical here. If you don't get it up and try to trade with spears, remember, the Delhi can actually just block you out with scholars. In fact, that's why someone in chat is saying that this is a tough matchup for Mongols. This spearman opening for the Mongols kind of feels like a given. It just doesn't hit very hard unless you can complete the outpost. So let's see if he's able to. We're going to hit the speed up to get live because I think they are just a minute ahead of this. Looking at the rotation so far, it looks like scout-wise, 10 sheep's actually not too bad. Don's doing okay in that department. First spears are making their way across the battlefield now, and Don has yet to see more than just this stone outcropping. He's going to see the racks. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Tips, I don't think the racks was necessary here. I've seen a lot of players just actually contest the initial spears with villagers and the scholar. But I guess he wants a cleaner eco approach here, where he doesn't have to idle himself out at all. And it might be that he feels he wants spearmen later because of the possibility of Keshex. For now, though, it does mean that Tips. It's that numerical disadvantage here. That dive by the spearman was quite costly, though. Don Artie taking a lot of damage on this spearman. Means that Tips actually does now have the advantage. Also, remember, any stage he can pull that scholar for the heals. In fact, where is that scholar right now? Wait, what? Okay, this is why select all armies, not your friend. This is not very optimal by Tips. He's idling out a lot right now. He's missing out on the piety timing. Okay, there we go. He's got him back in that. That's where he was. He was in the racks and he felt like he had enough. I think genuinely you probably could have stopped with the scholar in at this point. just because the defensive advantage of Spearman Count, right? And that allows you to actually get the party unlock and any other tech unlocks a bit quicker. But credit to him, he does have the number to always keep Don scared here. Don, who, by the way, is still adding more spears. Okay, numbers in. How many spears until Don Artie stops counting? Are we looking at a 20 spear game? We actually might be. I do like that creative approach by Tips to kind of set up the racks so that he has the double production with military efficiency. I do think that if he put the racks right next to the mosque, which it looks like he has perfect room for, he could have actually just switched back and forth and been efficient with the Scholar between production and then teching if he saw an opportunity. But instead, because Don is being one of those guys, it ends up being the smart play. Because Don is literally not stopping. So we got 10 spears versus 12. The weird part about this is it's actually better for Don, and this is why. Tips is exhausting all the berries already. He has got sheep behind this, but you know, at this pacing, it's a race to see who runs out of food first. And if Don runs out of food at home, he'll shift to the deer. This is just a face-off to see who stops producing spears first. And guess who blinked first? It's Tips. Don pauses the production and now is on his way up with the deer stone. Oh, this is such a weird opening to a game. And Don's now going to try for the outpost here. 15 villagers, 15 spearmen rather, villagers, goodness. Are going to have to run away as Tips is able to push him back. But now Tips is stuck with 15 spearmen. I think it's fair to say no one in this game is building Ghazi or Keshiks. Don needs to be a little bit careful about the way he's formed the lines here. Has got more spin being produced, by the way. Tips, oh my god, dude, Tips has been baited. He's been fully baited. This is bad, guys. This is really bad. Spin and line are going to start clashing here, but like keep in mind the tech up's going to complete soon. Don's trying to bait Tips further out of the base so that when the tech up completes, he can pump the upgrade and then chase with a move arrow. This is Don dominance coming in. Scholar trying to heal off the damage from the Spearman Mass. Deerstone about to complete though, and this is looking rough for Tips. Bad micro then, he has to retreat away. Tech up complete, and now Tips, he still hasn't started his yet. He's rushing on the goal, but I mean, this is the moment he's been waiting for, right? At what point would it have been better value to just sneak out on the left side? Too bad Don had that covered as well. Oh my dear god. Don with a hardened upgrade. I think that this game might be close to done for Tips. He needs to rush his tech up. He's at least going to win the Spearman fight on the defensive here, right? With the assistance of the TC. He's at least going to get gold required for a tech up, surely. I mean, I say that. He's yet to drop off. But now, you're an entire step behind here. Oh my god, Don. This is brilliant. You know, I've seen some Spearman showdown escalations, but that was just a sick read by Don. I was so fixated on this idea of the outpost needing to be there, but Don, just a smart cookie. He understood. All he needed to do was sit here to block the gold. That gold being blocked the entire time stopped everything here. I am a little bit surprised that Tips didn't just walk out, gather a bunch of gold here, guard with his spears here, and go back. But I think the problem in his mind is that if he'd done that, he would have given up the berries. Funnily enough, those berries have been vacated for a while, so I think there's a stage, there's a point, rather, what Tips was doing, you're just getting baited. I think it's around like 12 spears plus is when you need to stop. And it's scary to do that, right? When you see that many Mongols just stacking up on your borders, but it's now put Tips a step behind here. Archers and Keshiks already on the way for Don. Tips with only 4 spearmen left over and limited food. I actually really like what Don's done here on Cliffside. This is a good educational moment for people trying to like exploit this map and flex what you can do. The reason this was so effective for Don is that he understands that when he runs out of resources, he can go to other patches here. He can go to deer, he can go to berries, he can go to boar. But because Don has momentum on his side, Tips has to defend his base. And while Tips has a lot of resources, and they're good resources, right? Being the deli on the berries and having the sheep as well, the moment they run out, you are in desperation mode. Sick read by Don, and now a very dominant position to find himself in. Keshiks are arriving. Archer and Spearman Count looking good. And Tips, he's not sure what to build right now. He needs to see what he's up against before he makes a choice. Archers now move in. Villagers are going to have to leave the area. Keshik also arrived, and there's a bad sign here. Tips essentially gets the confirmation he needs every unit type. And guess what, folks? He can't access wood right now. In fact, if Don just keeps rotating, this could all be over. Instead, he's going to take a formulated approach, right? Set up the outpost, block out the first tree line, play for the second on a delay. Patches also laid in. I mean, this is a really good spawn the way Don chose this, right? Like, he didn't try to move close to the gold. He prioritized being close to the stone. So now he's able to keep the food pumping non-stop with pasture play. I think it would be better to play onto deer here. You have got the deer stone as well to get you there quicker. But it's understandable why he's taking this approach, right? He doesn't want to spend 100 wood on a go right now. In fact, he's floating a lot of wood. No, you don't do 2 TC here, right? I think he's just over-ecoing a bit. He needs more archer production. Probably more outposts. Archers moving in from Don. And that's going to be more freebies. Only one villager going down, but the damage really has been done to a lot of the eco units now, right? And that wood line on the north side isn't big. So if this turns into a massive archers on both sides, Tips is going to run out of resources before Don does. Outpost complete. And now the shift around. This is the pivotal moment. If Tips can survive this, he has a shot. If he gets pushed off that tree line, this is over. Keshik's right in. Eco at least has textiles now, so they don't die quick. But now that is no wood for Tips. And all you have to do is keep poking and prodding like this, folks. Like, you don't actually need to commit fully, right? You don't actually have to shut this down permanently. It's just the idle time that's going to allow you to build up a lead here. Tips, once again, pushed away. Another villager goes down. Spearman getting overwhelmed one by one. And the Keshik count is escalating. And that's what I'm scared of now, is like, actually, what is Tips' answer to this? Sure, you have Spearman, but with this many archers here, it feels like the Keshiks are always allowed to charge the wood line for free. Outpost now half complete. I mean, Tips, he doesn't see it, but he must be sensing it. He moves to the north side, so further and further away from base. This is now incredibly dangerous. Also, consider this. Don did not go for the trade. He went for Deerstone, which means these outposts are escalating the movement speed of not just his cav, but also those archers. Speaking of the cav, they're going to be snooped out early on by the scout here. 2 outposts complete. Honestly, if he gets the third, I think that's the end. Because at that point, the only wood you can gather is what? Straggler trees towards the opponent's base. It's not a good feeling. This is actually the best time that Tips can look to take a fight, by the way, because Don is now very far away from his base. But it is going to be what we expected. It's a second TC. Oh, you are such a cheeky git. Oh, what a cool strategy from Don. Also, the proxy range. This is why we watch Don, folks. I think, like, Don, his early mid-game, I probably enjoy more than almost any other player in the game. You know, sometimes it's going to be a hit and miss, but when it hits, it feels like a knockout punch from Tyson himself. Actually, it doesn't do it justice. It feels like Tyson just ripped off your ear is more appropriate here. Now desperate to get some gold in his pockets, Tips is going to wall in the entirety of this sacred site, but that's less wood going into archer production. I feel like you need all hands on deck right now. Don, of course, is going to be a little bit slow to escalate his military numbers for the moment, right? Because he sacrificed 900 wood into a TC. But it's going to pay for it in the coming minutes. And it's a detail that right now, Tips has no way of solving for. He doesn't even know about it. Cheeky Tips will be able to sneak out onto the deer, though. Outpost is being built up here. You will not be able to see towards that TC. It should be just shy of what he'd need. Don has slowed down. I think Don, like, honestly, just come back around the front here. See what your opponent's doing on the east side. Like, you want to be playing towards sacred sites now. You've done a good job of starving him out. He's almost done with this wood stack over here. After that, he's going to have to contest these outposts. But for now, although you need to be near the outposts, you shouldn't just be sitting idle underneath them, right? I think this is this false sense of security sometimes you get out of having 2 TC. You are building a lead. You will eventually win the game. But there is a window where you're weaker than your opponent for it. Even with an opponent who had a start this painful. He's legit just going to keep guarding the wood line, isn't he? Wait, what? I'm sorry, whose base is this? Don has set up an Uvu on the enemy side of the map. He's now gathering stone and getting double production pump out of his proxy base. Oh my god. I mean, it's delivering. Tibbs has no clue about this either, right? Okay, sorry, no, he does see it. He set up an outpost on the berry, so he now knows that the Mongols have set up home in his home. Don, making the Mongols look like the Skaven of the Age of Empires universe here. They were living underneath us all along. Just all this area that isn't accessible. I mean, there are at least deer and bush to the north side, so funnily enough, a counter for Tips is to take a risk and play Don Artie's side of the map, play on his resources. But I think step one, you need to scout this out and do something about this TC. He does see the villages. He doesn't know about the TC. He's just discovered it. So moves in. Tips will look to snipe down a few of the villies. Army's coming in for a backstab opportunity, so Tips has to be incredibly careful about this. Will look to back away. However, Don, now seeing how lackluster the army is of his opponent, he looks for a fight. Moving in. Don Artie, 14 military lead. Keshiks lead the charge. Attack speed arrow comes out, and the Spearmen are not going to last long here. In fact, Spearman count looking ugly. Only 7 of them in the fight. Made that 6, and that means the Keshiks are going to get an opportunity here to go in and clean up. This game looks done. Don shuts down the food gathering in this area. After that, what have you really got to fall back on? Nothing. GG comes out. The Artista strikes again. He hates his late game, which is why he never lets you get there. Dude, poor Tips, man. Dude, my brain didn't process why Dom was just scaling more spears at first. And then I was like, oh, wait, yeah, the gold hasn't been gathered that whole time. Dude, that was sick. That was that was so well played. Oh, man, what do I even call that one? I want to call it the proxy Mongol base, but I don't think that base even mattered in the end. Delhi are OP if you let them tech? I don't know. Trying to think. Mongols only need one thing. Maybe. And it's just loads of spears. I mean, that was so clowning, the amount of spears he forced there. I think Delhi can just ignore it, no? Yeah, I definitely think he overreacted. I said that already earlier on. Like, he didn't need that many spears in the end. And also, he could have been more efficient with the Scholar and the Rax position. Skaven exists. Oh, yeah, in books, dude. They're in books. They don't really exist. They're a story made up by propagandists that are trying to tell you that the Imperial Guards regiments are your enemies. So, yeah, don't believe what they say. Yeah. Yeah. All right, who's Don in the game against now? He got Tips again. We're watching this, right? You guys want more Don Artie versus Tips, right? It's English Ironbids this time. All right, guys, we got to wait. Whoops, Jesus Christ, it's all broken. We have to wait 3 minutes. But personally, I would say it's worth the 3-minute wait. Right? Right? That's actually good because I need to send an email quickly. So let me send that email and I will talk to you guys and respond to you in chat while we wait for this to start. Oh, man. Guy's not having a good time. Sorry, I'm just sending this message quickly so that it's out of the way. sawing something very big, very hype for Age of Empires. Well, it's one of those things that's very important, but it won't be apparent like immediately or clearly to the community, if that makes sense. Behind the scenes stuff. Sometimes it's more important than we give it credit for. Would have favored English pre-culture wing nerf, now less sure. Oh, you mean no? I wouldn't have favored IBIDs before. Sorry, no, yeah, I would have. So IBIDs, actually, IBIDs are still good here. They just need to go for Master Smiths. I know people think Master Smiths is a meme, but it's actually not. It's like legit the hard counter to English because it screws with your timings. But then it's like, do you go fast castle or do you play poor man's Abbasids? It's kind of an issue right now. It's like I think a lot of what we're seeing out of IBID players just feels like a poor man's Abbasids, which is why it doesn't look very impressive. Oh, that's what I need to do. I need to save the image, don't I? Send an email. Damn it. Have I saved it the right place? No, I've got another folder called Pictures. That's not confusing at all. Oh no, I've got I've got the word highlight thing on. It's bad. I've attached the logo. Of course, it will put it in a line together. That's cursed. Okay. Whatever. We'll see if he needs help with that. I love it when you copy and paste a message from Discord and then it has it like line after line and then afterwards decides to clump it together because Gmail is cursed. H2 IBIDs, yeah, dude, it's like okay, so I'm we can talk about it in game because I think it's actually a very good point to bring up. So let's hop into it. Not a good start to Tips this day, and apparently it's not getting better as it goes on. We are back for more Age of Empires 4 action. Once again, it's going to be Don Artie up against Tips. Last round, it was uncomfortable. Let's see if Tips can fare any better the second time around, because it is Don's English, and I'm already keeping us on one-time speed in case we see a 5-villager pool. So interesting discussions going on about what you do in this matchup and how it pivots one way or the other. I still think IBIDs can be quite decent against English if they go Master Smiths as their Feudal Age up. But outside that, I agree. These nerfs to IBIDs have made them much worse off against the English than they were prior. One interesting thought that's being brought up is this idea of playing aggressive IBIDs in Feudal Age. I think that's actually a pretty solid play into English right now. I don't think that play is going to work long-term as the meta develops IBIDs, though. Because here's the issue. If you play full-on Feudal Aggression as IBIDs, you're essentially a worse Abbasid pick, if you think about it. The only way you can be semi-better is on certain timings, right? Small windows of opportunity. But I'd argue things like Master Smiths, for example, allow those windows of opportunity. But at the same time, this is a Civ that doesn't really have good units in Feudal Age that get value out of the first 3 or 4, right? Compare that to Civs that have Men-at-Arms, or they have Early Knights, or they have Longbows, right? Those Civs do a lot better with that whole idea of a tempo advantage at the beginning of an age. That's something that feels really disingenuous to me with IBIDs right now, is for a Civ that's all about power of timings because they get a bonus from unlocking an age. It's weird that right now, outside of doing eco, I don't feel like they have a great advantage at the beginning of an age. Atabegs would take time to scale in Feudal Age. Master Smiths only works the moment you build a Blacksmiths, which is odd. And then Tradewing Bazaar fell off the side of a cliff. It just doesn't feel functional anymore. So, if you think about the more standard options, advancement to get there quicker, kind of nice. Military ring reinforcement is incredibly situational, and this is one of the situations you should never, ever, ever click that button in. And although Growth Wing gets you some villages, I think compared to the power of, say, if you were able to have a longbow type unit at the beginning of an age, it feels a lot less beneficial. So let's see what's going to be happening in this game, because it looks like Don Artie is... What on earth? That's not a Don move I see often. 3 farms already set up. I mean, we've seen 2 farms before, but I don't feel like we often see 3, and I'm not sure I can recall Don doing this recently. So very different approach going on here. It looks like he's going to be focusing on his mid-game eco. It might be we're looking at mass men-at-arms on a delay. Typically, when I see Don do this type of move, when I see any English player start to prioritize farms immediately, it's because they want to get a permanent source of food to keep on pumping. Let's see what the tech up choice is. Oh my... What? I'd like to know what is going through Tips' head other than an arrow from a longbowman right now. This is a very curious choice. Military ring reinforcement. Remember, the Desert Raiders are weak against range units. And I hate to break it to you, Tips, but right now every unit that Don has, other than the Scout, is a range unit. The Villagers are range units. The TC is a very powerful range unit. The Council Hall is going to enable Lombos, which are range units. This is a funky choice. If I'm being, I'm trying to be nice about it. Like, this is not what I think anyone would recommend against English, but apparently Tips has something in mind. I mean, it's crazy to think that he chose this over a quicker, cheaper tech up timing or extra eco. You know, even the idea of Master Smiths, we said, like, I think Master Smiths is 10 times better in this matchup than Reinforcement Wing. It's not even close, actually. The reason you get Master Smiths is if you think about the savings you make by getting 4 techs, they're 175 resources each. A tech up costs you 600 resources. Master Smiths is one of those rare examples where you cleanly and clearly get paid back what you paid for your tech up in something else. Only downside, of course, being that you have to build a blacksmith still, which I still, to this day, hate. But that... What a funky choice. We'll see if it works out for him. Maybe Tips saw something, he scouted something that we didn't quite see that makes him feel like he's better off here. With tech up complete, Don is going to send out 1 Longbowman. Now, 1 Longbow should die to a Desert Raider, because the Desert Raider should be able to just gap close and go melee. But it's never going to be 1 Longbow, right? It's never, ever 1. So Spearman also now being added in. Tips, what's the follow-up play here? Is he legitimately going for the fast castle build? His gold is really exposed. He's at least setting up an outpost to make it a bit more difficult. But honestly, like, the timing available to Don, I mean... If he just starts surging a group of spearmen here, he can easily dent and kill this outpost, because you know, this is the beautiful thing about facing Ibids, you know that they're not going to fortify. They'll only ever buy the arrow slits because they're cheapskates. Right? Like, he grabbed 1 load of stone from the ford, and now that ford is completely denied because Longbows can show up here. Speaking of which, how about this? You only went 1 outpost, so guess what Don's going to do? Oh, no. So this is a problem. Arrow slits is going to help you a bit, but the Longbow is still going to have the ability to poke and prod here. 7 tower range versus 7 tower range. So you have to be very careful about where your gold workers go here, and you can never have more than 5 working on this. Ay, Don. Just styling right now. Tips, he can't even touch him. Raider is now coming, though, and because he took that initial flurry of arrows, that is going to be an LB down. And that's what I was talking about. Look, you just go melee form. Melee form is much cleaner to quickly get a kill. So, does chop down on the Longbow. On the other side of this, though, we've got Spearman and Longbows being added in. So, Don, if he shows up with this force now, Tips is in trouble, because he's relying on that tech up. And it's not just the tech up he needs. He needs gold access non-stop as well. And I agree. I think Ibids in this matchup, like, you either go Master Smiths or you go Growthwing. I don't think, like, the other choices help you at all. I mean, he has got 2 of these Desert Raiders, and in theory, you can reach in and snipe the eco line of Don. That is an option. But as we already highlighted, I mean, compared to any other Civ, the villagers here fight back much better. Any other Civ, Shivs would be out, you'd be hitting for 1 damage. These civilians with their bows are going to hurt quite a bit on a 120 health unit. Instead, finally, the second outpost comes up. I think Don maybe didn't need to be this slow on escalating the Spearman Longbow count. If he'd actually trickled out troops, it's risky against Desert Raiders, but I think he actually could have stopped the second outpost ever going up. So Tips done what he needed to. He is going to make it up into Castle Age, and it looks like he's not going to fall for the folly of Advancement Wing, I think we might actually be looking... Is this Growth Wing? No, he didn't save the berries. This has to be Logistics. Logistics is really good here. Even Trade Wing Bazaar is surprisingly effective with the Bedouin Skirmishers and Swordsmen. But not many people go Trade Wing here. Growth is just kind of like the most sensible, but I just don't think there's enough berries on the map that it feels great. Okay, so... Some people can sense my dismay. A little tip for tips. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I like Growth Wing a lot for Castle Age. I think it's really effective. An extra 100 food goes a long way. It would have been 600 food here. Notice I said would have been. He ate all the berries. So the way you make this play work is you almost exhaust every berry patch and then move across to sheep. Because if you look at the count here, he still has 9 sheep that haven't even been clubbed yet. There's plenty of food here to get him all the way into Castle Age before he exhausts it. And that would have left him with an additional 600 extra food from the initial berry patch. So kind of a missed opportunity there. Meanwhile, on the other side of this, Donai is sieging in. Rams have come through. Okay, so this is kind of a predicament you find yourself in, right? Tips, he went for the Desert Raiders. That does nothing here. These Lombos can actually kill you off. And gold access has been stripped. So Tips, now he's going for Undermesh, but he's also prioritizing Golems with no gold access currently. It means you can only get 3. Meanwhile, other side of this, Don, is he playing onto Deer? I mean, he must be planning to play Deer, right? Like, this is... Either that or he's going to spam farms like crazy. He hasn't got the food yet to start pumping Men-at-Arms non-stop, which is what you really need up against Golems. But for the time being, if it's only 1 or 2 Golems, Lombos can deal with that. Ram in the meantime. Go dent the money camp. Okay, that is so sneaky that I don't think Dom would expect it. Tips is expected to go to the right side gold in this situation because it's efficient, right? Like, your opponent takes longer to reach there. Instead, he goes for the gold mine gambit. He moves out on the north side to grab the gold he needs. Kind of a cursed mining camp placement courtesy of the berries, but a very smart move overall. Don now sees the tech up, has 3 Rams to play with. He's going to knock on the House of Wisdom, isn't he? Yeah, I think, like, I can't believe Don's actually going to try to end the game. I mean, you can't here, right? Like, surely you just dive the houses. So, which one house is going to be taken out? So, a Ram does go down, but it killed mining camp, plus 2 outposts and a house. Definitely paid for itself at that stage. Remember, Rams cost less now, only 200 wood. Tips. Uh-oh. He's housed. Oh, no, he just... Well, he's housed again. Kind of awkward here. Rams are now going to move in onto the House of Wisdom. That is going to bait the Desert Raiders out of position here. I think you need to go past this, though, right? Just loop around the tree line and send the Rams onto the houses. I like the idea by Don, but going after the House of Wisdom is very difficult here. It takes a long time to kill. Tips. Now with gold access, you just need to set up more Raxes here, right? Like, he's having to replace the houses, but now that that's fixed, we're going to see Golem spam, and this is the scary point, right? Like, if the Golem count gets up to 7 or 8, Don's probably going to have to retreat. So how does he fix that? More Rams to go faster.